Panicked ladies and freaking out gentle gigas, welcome to my front porch where the war is not happening. So I'm not freaking out about it. I know you're panicking. I know I've been away for a long time. I know, babe. I have to go work sometimes, okay? I don't do this for us as my job. This is just a passion that I have to record YouTube videos. I actually have world-changing projects to build, so excuse me while I go do actual shit in the world and not just talk shit on YouTube and try to get you to buy some random shit for no reason. But yes, the world is fucked. Everything's crazy. Yes, you're getting to see my actual background now on my front porch. Yes, we have a cigar to start with. We're going to get into this in a second, but let me show you what we're going to work on today, what we're going to go through today. And yes, you're getting to see my script. So you can see my jokes are not scripted. These are one of one, private shows, improv only, all right? None of this scripting. Sitting down, Coin Bureau, you are going to look at all of this stuff, and things are going to happen. It's like, we don't read a script. But anyways, what we're going to cover, Iran war update. We're going to look at how we took profits, how we're going to deploy them going forward. There's this bifurcation happening between Bitcoin and altcoins, and we're going to look at the dynamics of that and see how we can benefit, show you how I predicted this war, this crash, this upcoming one, which still hasn't happened, and that's when you should be predicting it. And then we're going to go through the watch list and analyze it again and look at what we're buying and what price we're at. Okay. But first, we are going to light this cigar from the 898 collection, okay, given to me by a dear friend as a gift. Thank you so much, Mr. Dear Friend and Dear Friend last name. I'm sure this is a very expensive cigar because he always gives me very expensive cigars, so I'm not even going to look up how much it costs because, if you're living the life, sometimes lighting money on fire is kind of part of the process, okay? So if you're over there freaking out, wherever you are, first of all, if you're not in Iran or in Israel, I don't even know why you're freaking out, okay? You're probably just being coerced into this chaos and convinced that the world is melting down and all this stuff, when it's actually not. Do you see any bombs dropping around you? Go ahead, take a look around. Oh, wait. The only thing bombing is the altcoin market. So if you're panicking because of that, you're using emotion. But anyways, my point is, here's the Iran war update. War is bullish. War is bullish. Now, on which time scale, that depends. Because usually when these kind of things happen, there's some kind of panic. Yeah, they're going to block the Hormuz Strait, blah, blah, blah. A whole bunch of narratives that come out that make you panic. Then it's usually a nothing burger for some time and convinces you, oh, that's not going to happen. Then when you're convinced nothing's going to happen, then something happens out of the blue. Maybe like a schlag. You're not allowed to say these things on YouTube, but you know what I mean. Some kind of event that is caused by maybe somebody on purpose to cause something to happen. Who knows? And when those things happen is when the real kind of scary moment plays out. Markets drop, and that's the moment to buy, the best moment to buy. And then from there, the money printing that happens because of war goes bananas, and markets go bananas. Okay, so all in all, war is hyper, mega, giga, peta bullish on the long term. It's generally very bullish on the medium term, and it can cause volatility and problems in the short term. But I just say war is bullish. Plus, we've been waiting for something to happen that's an excuse big enough for them to really turn on the money printers. The tariff stuff was not an excuse big enough. The stuff going forward with this war and all this stuff happening, this seems like something big enough where they could print a ton of money and dump it into the markets. Okay, so war is bullish. Stop freaking out. Our condolences and our heartfelt, genuine prayers go out to the people being bombed in these countries over money and over all of this stuff. But in the end, Iran war update, war is bullish. Turn off all the TVs, turn off all the garbage. They're just trying to trick you into this world. Okay. So how did I predict that this was going to happen? Right? First of all, a month ago I put out a video saying there's a rug pull coming. Now, how did I know that that was going to happen? Or what made me think that that was going to happen? So one of my favorite things to look at is this cyclical analysis. It's harmonics analysis from Steve Miller, also known as Slim. Ask Slim. No. Sometimes it's Sim, sometimes it's Slim. He's been in the markets for 40 years. Okay? So feel like he's been through a lot of this. This harmonics analysis is also one of the key cornerstones that allowed me to predict this April crash. And these harmonics of the markets tell you a lot. So in simple terms, this is the long form version of the harmonics. That puts a smaller correction in the markets into the middle of July to sometime beginning of August. So like right around middle of July. It could happen as early as, end of June. It could happen as late as August. Who knows? And it could happen whenever. Who fucking knows these days? But the point is, on the long time frame, this is what we're looking at. So we caught this katana for sure. We're going to ride these waves in whatever way we can. And then this, like around this October time frame, is going to be the next big correction. And that's also where the liquidity pockets show up. So that's one of the things. Now, this middle time frame correction, it tends to be, where are we at, 640. Okay, so this is the short-term version of that same analysis. Okay, so this said that there's probably going to be a little bit of a correction here. Now, in the previous times, it could be as small as just a nothing burger, a complete nothing burger. But, a lot of different confluence said that something should happen here, and now it's happening live. Now, I am of the mindset that we are going to have another little run until the middle of July, right around my birthday. And I think that is likely playing out now, where we had this fear, we've had this panic. What I'm going to do is let the markets open tonight, let this fear propagate through the markets. Hopefully NASDAQ gets a decent bit of a correction from this whole process happening, and ideally I would like to buy up a lot of that. Or, hypothetically speaking, I would like to buy up a lot of that. We're going to get into the details of that. But this cyclical analysis, you can go and watch it yourself. He does it on a weekly basis. He's not smoking cigars, though. You know what I mean? This is a good frame of mind to have because markets move in cycles. Everything is cyclical in the universe. Even this circle, even right now, I'm even cyclical. You see that? Everything is cyclical in the universe. So understanding those cycles goes a very long way. Now, the other thing I mentioned in the last video was this. I started to see so many negative divergences happening, and pardon all these lines because they be confusing, right? So Bitcoin was shooting off to the moon, and our hybrid indicator, which is much more reliable than just RSI and all this stuff because it puts them all together. There's this insane run happening while the momentum and money flows and everything put together is slowing down. And that's why I said here, I was like, hey, looks like a rug pull to me, my love. And I put that out somewhere around here, and now that rug pull is playing out. But an even scarier part is if you look at this time frame, which is a weekly time frame, where the signal tends to be a lot more reliable, we actually have a pretty decent negative divergence playing out as we speak. So from here to here, price action went up. From here to here, the indicator went down, which means it's likely that we see a slightly deeper correction. Nothing that's going to, nothing to write home about on the long term, but it's a slightly deeper correction. So that was happening on Bitcoin. Then when you go and take a look at all the other ones, it was like Ethereum, negative divergence. Okay. This is like, this is like, kind of like, sort of like, sort of like lost all my money. No, sorry. Ethereum doesn't have it. That's why I didn't draw it. Sorry. I'm just going for the joke, This is looking at it on the daily. XRP didn't have it either. But SUI. SUI had this pretty serious negative divergence happening, right? Prices going up, indicators going down. Guess what happens? SUI goes down. No surprise. Near. Prices going up, indicator going down. Render. Price going up, indicators going down. You get the idea. All of this bearish and negative divergence, while you were all being told, oh, this is going to run away, while I'm getting messages from all of you freaking out like, Sim, is it ever going to stop? Like, what if the market just runs away on me? And what if I never, ever get to buy it for that price again, Sim? That's literally that's how I read your texts. Just saying. If you sound like a baby, I read your text like a baby. And all of that put together, it's okay. That's why I call you babe, because you're my baby. All of that put together gives me a huge signal that there's this negative divergence happening and beginners being pulled into the market. And then it was also this high volatility regime idea, right? It was that, okay, if we have a giant correction like we did, yeah, right? We have this big correction, then there should be a bigger pump up. It's better to look at the total or the total, like the total market cap rather than Bitcoin, because it gives you a better signal. The fact that we had, the fact that we had this big crash meant that we should have a big recovery. Now, did I expect it to go this far? No, but that's the way the market does. We should have this big recovery. When you have this big recovery, a high volatility regime framework says you should have a correction. And this is where we're going to look at something like SUI. You know, big old recovery, big old crash. Then it's probably a big old recovery on the other side, right? So that high volatility regime framework is the reason why I was like, let's go all in right here. Because we're right here, this yellow line, right? And we're going to get into the details of that. But that high volatility regime framework allowed me to predict that something should come up that should be the excuse to make this happen. Right? This is where you can see future events happening in the charts if you just simply pay attention. Narrative follows the charts. The charts don't follow narrative. Not even charts. The world's happenings follow the markets. The markets don't follow the world's happenings. The world is controlled by AIs that control more money than God, and everything is timed perfectly. Everything happens when it happens for a reason. If you don't want to believe that, don't believe that. This is my framework. That's better than your framework. So, fuck you. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. Fuck you. So, and the idea that you need a big excuse to print money, right? So, did I know it was going to be a war? No. But did we know something was coming? Yes. So what did we do about it? We, like ninjas, live on YouTube, live enough. You saw it happen. We waited last time for the spike in the VIX. When the VIX spiked to its peak, we bought right here. April, this is the 8th, this is the 7th, right here on this candle. Okay? That sharp increase in volatility is one of the best signals to use to buy. Right now, that signal isn't there, by the way. Just saying. What we did is on that spike went all in with this understanding that if this spike is so big, the recovery should be something insane and we get to take profits. Now let's look at what specifically we did on all the different, actually we'll get there in a second. I think this is going forward, probably taking, okay, we'll do it now. At that time, we went here and bought SUI for this $2 range. Okay. Within a little bit of time, it was at $2.20, and we took a little bit of the profits off the top. Then it went up to this $3, whatever, $3.40 range, and we took some more profits off the top. At this point, we took all the profits off the top because my spidey senses started to go off, and this entire framework said we're not done yet. We took all the profits off the top of SUI. Okay, rode it from $2 to $3.40, taking profits on the way up. Near. Bought it at this yellow line, took profits here, and took profits here. Render. Bought it at this yellow line, and took profits up here. You know, it's like buy it at 3, take profits at 450. Near. Buy it at 2, take profits all the way up to 260. Render had an insane run. Render was doing great. SUI had this ballistic run, so that was beautiful. Jupiter. Bought it at 35 cents, took profits all the way up to 48 cents. Pith, bought it at 12 cents, took profits all the way up to 16 cents. SPX, bought it at 48 cents, took profits all the way up to $1.56. That one, super proud. Tippity fucking top. Okay. Giga, bought it at, 14 cents, took profits all the way up to 22 cents. And Whiff, Whiff had a great run as well. Bought it at 35 cents, 36 cents, took profits all the way up to $1.14. Okay, so now this is, again, this one sold the top of this run right now, right? That's the cash that is sitting on the sidelines to deploy into this next process. Because the understanding was, if we've had this massive drop, this major drop, and liquidity says that we're going to turn around and run and go off on this insane next leg, then we're going to go all in and ride that wave up. Now, my framework says we should have a big correction. Raul's framework doesn't say that. Facts are facts, folks. These are facts, folks. So I trusted my framework instead of blindly relying on, on his. So that's why we took profits here and took profits here. At this point, this was a manual trigger pull, both of these, where I could see, okay, let's lock in some profits to have a little bit of cash to deploy in case this plays out early. Here, there was just, if this was an insane run, so I was like, let's do it again and take profits again. These were both manual pulls, or most of these were manual pulls. These ones, SPX and Whiff top sales, this was a manual pull. This one was actually this is where it had already 3x'd, right? 48 cents, $1.50 something, it had already 3x'd. And the strategy says, when things 2x, you take out 20% of the initial. When things 3x, you take out 20% of the initial, right? So that was the automated part of the strategy that executed there. As much as I would like to say I'm some kind of genius and sold the top, no, that's the strategy is the genius. That's what sold the top. I took profits along the way. So on Render and all these other ones where it's only one or two, those were all manual pulls. So yes, manually took profits there. Manual profits. Okay. Now also liquidity says we're just going to run up. Right? This is an interesting thing. You've probably seen 1,000 people post this chart. Oh yeah, look, liquidity says we're just going to go off on this insane leg. Oh, look at how perfect the correlation is with Bitcoin, guys. Oh, look. It's such a perfect correlation. Look, it goes up and then it goes down. Look, this is even perfect. Everybody keeps pointing this out. But are you holding Bitcoin? When you actually look at the rest of them, liquidity says, survey says, Swee's just going to keep shooting to the moon. No, it front runs and then it drops harder. Near, it follows liquidity and then it drops. Completely diverges. At this point, you can't really tell me that this is liquidity playing out. This is clearly a different trend that's playing out. Render follows, psych! Shakes you out. Jupiter follows. If it was this easy to make money in markets, everybody would be rich. Oh, just follow this yellow line and everybody's going to get rich. No, that's not how it works. And there's bifurcations between assets that we're going to talk about as well. But that's why you have to have your own framework and your own understanding. And now I completely lost track of what I was talking about. Okay, so remember, we went all in on the VIX spike, took some profits manually. Then when there was a lot of profit and a lot more data, we manually took all the profits off the top, so skimmed all the profits, left the initial position, initial exposure in the market. And then that laddering out strategy is the one that at each multiple you take out profits. That is what happened to create a bag. That is 88% deployed in the markets. Well, it was actually 84% deployed in the markets and about 16% in cash. And then news came out that Peak is going to be listed on Kraken. And we have an internal view on Peak because, I'm friends with the guys and we're building Farmsent on Peak. And they're the ones who invited us to go meet the sheikhs in Dubai, which, isn't really what you would call a Tuesday and what most other blockchains dream that they could do. So because of having this alpha and this edge and the fact that most people don't know what D pin is and don't know what peak is, we decided that's a good trade. Now, if it's going to be listed on Kraken, and right now it's not, then some of that cash, hypothetically, got deployed towards buying peak. Okay. So now, where it stands, we're 88% deployed in the markets and 12% in cash. Now, yes, your brain is probably thinking, Sim, if you knew all of this was going to happen, why didn't you just take a giant amount of profit? Good question. As smart as it sounds in hindsight, and as much as it sounds like I knew what was going to happen, I don't know what's going to happen. Every bet I make with the understanding that I assume the probability of me being wrong is higher than the probability of me being right. See, most people make bets with the understanding where they assume that the probability of them being right is higher than them being wrong. And the market will humble you, and it's humbled me a lot in life. So I make every bet with the understanding that I want to lean more towards being safe in case I'm wrong. Plus, at this point of the bull market, the riskiest thing you can do is to be mostly out of the market. We're at the beginning of a bull run. You should mostly be in the market, because if it runs away on you and does this kind of stuff, unexpected things, the vast majority of your portfolio is making money. My portfolio is making money, my hypothetical portfolio. So because of that, just taking the profits off the top, just from the entries that were in profit, made the most amount of sense, because that's house money now. Plus, the idea is, crash happens, buy. It goes up, take profits. Things go lower, use that money to buy more. Okay, and we're going to go through the details of what all that looks like. So buying peak, that's one of those rare bets, the special bets, where once it gets listed on Kraken and exposure starts, it's going to be an insane bet. Peak is at like a $65 million market cap now. Yes, I started buying around 12. It's at 8 cents now. Cry me a river, babe. Like, that's how crypto works. Buy more, okay? I'm not crying. So, peak was one bet, right? The deployment strategy going forward now with this 12% cash. Hypothetical. Is that in case they do blow up the fucking world properly and start World War III properly, and they shut off the Strait of Hormuz this week properly, then the VIX should spike. Is that going to happen? Probability says no, because everybody's already panicking and freaking out, and the VIX isn't really showing any major signs of exploding. There is this positive divergence or a bullish divergence happening on the VIX, which is the index is going down, but the indicator is going up. So I do expect the VIX to keep going upwards and spike at some time. Now, our cyclical analysis says, the harmonics say, that there could be, should be is like hard, could be is, that it's probability says and harmonics says that there should be a bigger kind of event playing out mid-July. So I wouldn't be surprised if this event plays out mid-July, which is not that far away. But if this was to spike tomorrow, I would buy it tomorrow. If this doesn't spike tomorrow, I'm looking at an alternate strategy that we're going to look at in a second. Laddering in the profits is what I'm talking about there, right? What I'm saying is my way of benefiting from this volatility is to buy SUI when it crashes down to $2 and everybody has their panties in a bunch. Okay, buy it there, ride it up, take out some money, let it crash, put the money back in lower than where I sold it. Right? So now if I sold here and I sold here and the average exit ends up being somewhere around here, then if I buy it lower, I get more SUI, and voila, we're all winning. Now, it shows up even better on the other assets, right? Near, it's like buy it here, take a bunch of profits on the way up to here. Then it crashes lower than where you bought it first, but now you have more cash that you made in the middle of this process. I'll go back and buy it again. Render, same thing. It's lower than where I bought it last time. Happy to do that, dude. You're telling me I buy something for $3, sell a bunch for $4.50, and it comes back to $2.85? Come on now. I'm super dupes happy to buy that. Jupiter, same thing. Buy here, sell up to here. Now it's back. Pith is a great example of like buy here, sell up to here. It goes lower than where you bought it initially. Buy it again. Now I get entry here, entry here. My average entry comes down a little bit, down to somewhere around there. You get the idea. This is the laddering in the profits, right? This is how you multiply. This is how I multiply my bags as the run is happening. Because, let's say selling for 16 cents, okay, and now it's at 8 cents. I can buy twice as much with that same amount of money. And twice as much at the end of the bull run will make me twice as much money. Of course, it's only with the piece that I sold and bought. But the idea is now I have, in this case, let's say if I take 10% profits on this asset and I deploy and I can buy 20%, you get the idea. I can buy twice the assets, then that increases my return at the end by a significant amount. It could be a 10% increase. It could be more than that, depending on how it gets executed. So that is the plan. Now, looking at all of this, I'm thinking to not tell you what I'm going to do until later. Ha! Okay, I'll tell you now. Okay, I won't. What do you think it is? Well, think about this. This says, on the longer form version, it says we are basically in this corrective period right now, and it's happening as we speak, live this week. Then it's likely, just the strength of this run is likely that it continues forward. But also just the way narratives are playing out, things always take longer than expected, and I'm assuming that about the way I'm thinking about things as well. So I wouldn't be mad at putting that cash back in, letting it run up another bit, and then catching it and taking some profits and doing this process again. I wouldn't be mad if I did that. Am I going to do that? It's still undefined. It depends on what happens this week. If we start to see everything start to have a recovery and things start to, like, you can see, like, renders come back to this same zone 3 times. It's actually probably done that more. Okay, so this is like, it did that in March, then it did it again in April, and then it did it again now. Now, when something hammers on a level for a long period of time, eventually that level breaks. So I wouldn't be surprised if eventually it breaks. But now that it's this suppressed and depressed, and everybody's in this scared, panicked state, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes off on another run and pulls back again. This is where it gets ambiguous, right? The lower risk thing for me to do right now is to just wait until mid-July, sit on the sidelines, let it go up, don't do anything. As a matter of fact, let it go up and take some more profits off the top, okay? And then when it comes back and hammers on this level again a 4th time, the probability of it crashing through goes up. When the harmonics say that there's a bigger reset happening, the probability of it going below that level goes up. And if at that time they block the Strait of Hormuz or whatever next boogeyman in the shit show that they want to bring out, that makes more sense. So the confluence lining up means that's likely what I'll do. As things run up this time, we'll take more profits off the top and then use all of that cash to buy that kind of bigger reset dip somewhere around here. Okay? So now, remember this, that bigger reset dip is followed by another short-term uptrend. So that means market will probably run up further than that. And then correct in a big way somewhere around this October timeline, right? So that's the idea. That's what I'll do will depend on what happens this week. I'll get you an update if I have time to do all this stuff. But does that make sense? Not if that makes sense. I can see you through the screen. Stop it. Stop doing those dirty things you're doing. I can see you. You know that, right? That's not cool. That's not cool, dude. This weird. Okay. One thing I want to highlight in a pretty big way is that there's a bifurcation happening between... First of all, everybody's using ideas from previous cycles to extrapolate into what's going to happen this cycle. And that's why you're not making any money. Because this cycle is nothing like the previous cycles. In the previous cycles, Bitcoin and alts had this relationship because liquidity would flow into legitimate Bitcoin, and then that liquidity would naturally flow into alts, and it would slosh back and forth. This time around, the liquidity is flowing into ETFs. So Bitcoin's doing a different thing, and that liquidity doesn't slosh into altcoins, and altcoins are doing a different thing, right? Bitcoin is close to all-time highs. It's 10K off its all-time highs, while SUI has corrected a huge amount, right? Like something like Pith is at all-time lows. After launch, it's at all-time lows. Matic, which is Polygon now, but we're OGs. We call X Twitter and all that stuff. You know, it's basically at all-time lows. So when people are like, this is the end of the bull run, does that look like the end of a bull run to you? Or does that look like the end of a bull run? As a matter of fact, this looks like the end of a bear market to me. Or actually, not even the end of a bear market. This looks like the bear market is still continuing for the alts, right? So what's happening is there's a bifurcation happening between how certain coins move and how certain other coins move. Now, XRP, that looks like a bull run to me. I wouldn't be mad at you if you said this was the end of a bull run, I guess. But, right, to me, this also just looks like the first altcoin season for XRP happening, and it stabilizes, and now it's going to pop off and do another run. And it is going to fucking implode, Mike. XRP is going to pull another one of these legs. Well, as soon as this wedge is done, it's going to pull another one of those magic wonder things, right? Does this look like the end of a bull run to you? Does this look like a bear market? This is Solana. Goes, chops around, builds a lot of solid structure. Sure, it's correcting back, but who cares? I think this thing's going to $1,500, but we'll look at that in a second. The point is, on Bitcoin, it may look to you like this is the end of a bull run. I wouldn't be mad at you if you said this was the end of a bull run. Yeah, we've had this insane run up. A bunch of things have happened that never happened before. We had an all-time high before the halving. Blah blah blah. All these things, right? So this bifurcation is something to pay attention to. If you're sitting there watching Bitcoin, thinking, "Oh, Bitcoin's doing this, which means crypto's doing this," and that's not. Sorry, the game has moved on. What Bitcoin is doing is exactly what the stock market is doing, because Bitcoin is effectively a stock market now. It's been hijacked by Wall Street. Okay, this is Bitcoin and the Nasdaq. Okay, so Bitcoin is more correlated to the Nasdaq now than it is to altcoins. If that's not a takeover of your Bitcoin by BlackRock, I don't know what is. Okay, this is a clear signal that BlackRock and the Wall Streeters have taken Bitcoin over. They're not here to invest. They took it already. These correlations are telling you that. But they haven't taken the other cryptos yet. They're coming. There's like 19 or something ETFs that are going to get launched for XRP. And the XRP was made by the bankers in the first place, so it belongs to them anyway. So, you get the point. But this is also actually a good signal to be able to see that Bitcoin has become a canary in the coal mine for the stock market. This is a very interesting reflection to understand. Bitcoin started to signal weakness in the stock market. This was 30th of January, Bitcoin started to drop, and the stock market didn't start dropping until the 20th of February. So it signaled this drop early. It also, you can't really say front run, but it topped out earlier than the stock market. And now it's showing this kind of corrective phase that's happening, and so it's likely that. But my point is, Bitcoin seems like a signal that tells you where the stock market's going to go, where at least Nasdaq is going to go. So in this bifurcation, you got to stop watching just Bitcoin. The way I'm looking at it is, I'm looking at others, which is every crypto other than the top 10. Now Bitcoin is doing this. The others are doing this. There's your alligator jaws divergence and all that good stuff. Okay, others is very interesting to me because when I'm looking at others, where is the others chart? It is actually basically near bear market lows. It's effectively in bear market lows. It's at $200 billion market cap. At the top of the previous cycle, it was around the, I can't see it, the $360 billion market cap. This time it went all the way up to 446 just in one of the mini altcoin seasons at the end of 2024. This is also when XRP did its thing, by the way. But after that, you see this, you see the entire market dropping and Bitcoin doing its own thing. This is the others dominance chart. Okay. This one is actually basically at bear market lows, but it's gone as low as this. It's gone as low as like 5.89%, or it could go even lower, but at this point I'm like, the fact that it's already at lows is a good time to buy. Could it go as low as this? Yes. Could it go lower? For sure. But my point is, does this look like this is the end of a bull run? No. This looks like a bear market, which is the time when we buy. Dominance. Everybody's looking at the dominance. Of course, I don't just look at a Bitcoin dominance. I look at the Bitcoin dominance minus the stablecoin market cap. Okay, and that's telling you a lot. That's telling you all the money has been flowing to Bitcoin compared to everything else. Now, my light is dead. No. That's what your portfolio looks like right now. I'm so funny. Everybody's looking at. You see the Bitcoin dominance and you think, see, that means I should buy Bitcoin. No, my love. This is the whole point. When it was time to buy Bitcoin back in the day, 2022, 2023, 2024 and stuff, you were convinced that the world was going to crash and there was going to be a recession, so you never bought it. Now that it's the time to buy altcoins, from the data that I'm showing you, you are being convinced to go buy Bitcoin. So the trick is always to get you to buy the wrong thing at the wrong time. When the dominance is this high is not when I buy Bitcoin. When it's this low is when I would ideally like to buy Bitcoin. Now that it's here and everything else is cheap, I like to buy those things. Okay? So that bifurcation you have to understand. You can't just watch Bitcoin and think that you have an understanding of what the market's doing. You have to understand what the difference is between the two. Because the way Wall Street is moving is different from the way crypto investors are moving. Crypto investors are, first of all, the retail has not even come yet. So if you go to Google Trends, trends are your friends, and you type in Buttcoin, and you go to, come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. In the past, from 2004 until now, that's a bit much. Past 5 years, fine. And you look at what the average person is searching, and if they're searching Bitcoin, they're not searching Bitcoin. Okay, this was back in the day. This was the top. That's 100. Okay, so the searches for Bitcoin are basically at effectively zero. So the retail is not looking at Bitcoin. This is institutional. This is the crypto heads playing around and all this kind of stuff. You have to understand this difference. When they show up is when the real boom happens. And guess when they showed up? In a pretty significant way. They basically went 70% in November. And look at what it did to so many different cryptos. Right now, retail's not here, which means this is not the top. This is not how things end. And these like stunted altcoin seasons is another thing that's playing out because of this dynamic playing out between the two. Because in these altcoin season runs that we've seen, certain coins exploded. XRP, boom chicka pow pow. XLM, bratatatata. Solana, skitty pop pop. Right? Sui, boom boom chicka pow pow. Right? Yes, I'm making the noises of the Iran war. Somebody's got to make it funny. Okay? This was near no, right? So like a lot of these coins, SPX. What did SPX do around that time? September, October, November. Yeah, so like this is what SPX did, right? Some coins have insane runs, but most of them do not. And then the altcoin seasons themselves are stunted, right? So what you're seeing is stuff like this, where when Bitcoin's dominance drops even just a tiny, tiny little bit, Sui just does a boom, chicka pow pow, blah blah, right? Does a 2x in a heartbeat when Bitcoin's dominance went from literally from here to here. Like, and then the zoomed out scale it's just a nothing burger. When Bitcoin's dominance went from here to here, XRP did a 6x, right? So these kind of stunted cycles are what we're seeing. We're not, all the dynamics have changed. So what happened? This happened. XRP popped. We took some profits off the top. This happened. Sui pops. We took some profits off the top. WIF pops. We took some profits off the top. Why? Because when this happens, we go back and buy it. All right. These are the new dynamics that are playing out. So what's going to happen going forward? Who fucking knows? Okay. But since I have a good track record, here's what I would imagine is going to happen going forward. Short-term volatility. Short-term, things are dropping and blah, blah, blah. It's insanity. Oh my God, this is horrible. Things are just the worstest. Now that everybody's kind of panicked, I wouldn't be surprised if we have another run into mid-July to convince everybody everything's done. Short-term, just volatility. Oh, they're gonna they're not gonna bomb Iran. They're gonna bomb Iran. Oh, they're gonna close the Strait of Hormuz. No, that was just a discussion in the parliament. This way, that way. Oh, July 9th, tariffs conversation comes back, and then oops, and blah 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 blah. By the way, July 9th, the tariff conversation comes back, which is perfectly lined up with the cyclical analysis. Coinkydink, methinks not, my love. So short term, boom, 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 volatility. Medium term, bullish AF with big corrections. So medium term, I do still expect that. So remember, Raul's framework is right. Raul's framework is right. Assets do follow liquidity, right? They go down with liquidity. They go up with liquidity. They sometimes go a little bit down with liquidity. So he's going to continue to do this, okay? Don't get me wrong on that. So then liquidity says we got this next leg that goes all the way up until September-ish timeline, and then there's another liquidity pocket that's coming here. So medium term, very bullish, with bigger corrections in the process. Long term, numbers won't make sense. Long term, and I mean like year, 2-year scale, numbers just will not make sense, because what's about to happen is at some point this Bitcoin dominance is going to drop in a massive way, and all of that liquidity is going to flood into altcoins. And when that happens, and at the same time they're printing all this money and dumping it into the markets, okay, expect just insanity, complete bananity, insanity, ridiculousness, whatever you want to call it, okay? That's the outlook going forward. Insane altcoin seasons. Will you have the patience to make it there? I don't know. Because if you're crying now and you're like, oh, I should have just bought Bitcoin. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. Cuddle me, hold me. Like, you're probably just not going to make it. Okay? The rest of us, seasoned investors, we are buying the things that are going down. Others are going down. We're buying others. Okay? Simple as that. All right, so now let's analyze. Damn, this one's going to be a long one. Let's analyze the market. Let's analyze the different cryptos. Where are they? Are they a good buy zone? Let's go to the party. Let's go to the party. I don't know why I just said that. Sometimes, like my brain just comes up with random shit, and it goes, dude, you got to say this. You just got to say this. It's like Tourette's, right? If I don't get it out of my system, it just eats me alive that I just didn't do that thing that was just so stupid and retarded. Okay, let's go from the top down. Business cycle hasn't even kicked off. Literally hasn't even kicked off. The game hasn't even started. TBH. Okay. Volatility. Bond volatility is low. Will it spike? Almost certainly. When will it spike? You tell me, Captain. Bitcoin volatility is low. It's spiking as we speak, so it's likely that it that it continues to spike, but it's still low. VIX, general volatility, stock volatility is low. I have ants crawling all over my screen, and that's not cool, guys. But at some point, it's going to spike. But right now, it's saying that prices should continue to go up, actually. It's not saying that things should drop precipitously from here. Okay, Bitcoin has been ranging in this zone, but actually, it's institutional buyers are buying and retail is selling. There's the derivative risk score. There's a bunch of scores that institutional analysts use, and like Jamie uses from Real Vision. Actually, none of them are overheated as we speak. So, and indicator says it's very oversold. Probability says it's more likely to go to the upside than it is to the downside, at least for some period of time. Okay, could that be until middle of July? Who knows? But that's what I'm expecting to happen. Bonds are just a shit show. Okay, the ocean for bonds is still low. This is just going to depend on what happens in the market. Dollar, same thing. Dollar's dropped a lot. It's low. Over the long term, I could expect it to continue dropping. Over the short term, I wouldn't be surprised if it has like a little bit of a recovery. Stock market has a negative divergence. So stock market from here to here, up, from here to here, down. So stock market, I think, follows the kind of process that we were looking at on the cyclical analysis, where I think stock market just does this. It has a little bit of a dip coming up. Everybody thinks that's the one, gets scared, here we go. But actually then it turns around, takes another leg up, and goes out until sometime in July to correct. So wouldn't be surprised if that happens. NASDAQ, same thing. Prices going up, indicators going down, which means it probably corrects at some point, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens later than we all expect. You get the idea. All of them are saying basically the same thing. Okay, so now total market cap is still pretty high. It's actually closer to its all-time highs than it is closer to its all-time lows because of Bitcoin. Others are at bear market lows or bear market-ish. So, and like how depressed this indicator is, actually, now that I think about it, I'm leaning more towards buying now. Because a lot of this data is pointing towards this is now the end. This looks like a bottoming tail. This is enough of a correction for me to be happy that, okay, this happened here. We had a pump. We've had a pullback. For us to have another leg, I wouldn't be surprised. And the thing with these kind of things is that this leg tends to be the one that's like the sharpest, that suckers people in the most. And because of that, I wouldn't mind being on that train. But again, that's going to be decided this week. Others' dominance, super low. I'm happy to buy at these prices. If it goes lower, I'm happy to buy at those prices. I'm happy to buy at these prices and ride up the wave. And Steph, I know you said this in the group, and I said it was a terrible idea. I changed my mind. You're a genius. I'm coming to your camp. I think I'm leaning more towards, I think it would be a better idea to buy now and ride it until whatever the next bigger reset is, and then along the way take profits and then redeploy into that next correction. Okay, Bitcoin. I don't buy Bitcoin, period, ever. So I'm never going to buy it because you buy it, right? If anything, I use the Bitcoin profits to go make a lot more money in the other places. Ethereum. Ethereum has reset a decent bit. Ethereum, in this case, also had a negative divergence, has a negative divergence as we speak. So, boom, chicka pow pow. And this is where I know, relax. I know you want me to turn these on. I know you want me to turn you on. These are jokes, folks. Relax, okay? These are jokes. But Ethereum, look at what it did. It bounced off that fib range, has gone back down. Prices have risen slightly, and slightly, like ever so slightly in that. But the indicator has gone down, and now it's correcting. Not surprised. Is it in a buy zone? Yeah, hell yeah. Is Ethereum going to kill it? Hell yeah. Ethereum is going to just be one of the best runs. Could it pull back more? For sure. So there's no guarantees in any of this stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if from here we have another bounce up. It goes back up. You just heard me say that. Now, let's look at it from three lenses. Right, this is the lens of the Crypto Crew University perspective. Right, this is the hybrid indicator, really good at giving you a signal when it's super depressed like this, like when it's down here in these zones. If you bought Ethereum at that time, nobody would ever fault you because it's a really good time to buy. So is it a good time to buy? Yes. This is the liquidity perspective. Actually, this is one good one to look at for Bitcoin. One of the reasons why I think Bitcoin pulls back to this eventually, at some point, pulls back to this 83 zone, is because there's just professional analysis brought to you by professionals. Because this yellow zone is liquidity that's sitting there and waiting for market makers to come back and chew it up. Now, people are saying it probably just goes down to this like 90, 95 zone. There's a little tiny bit of liquidity there. That is very likely, but I think it's very likely that it pulls back to this 85 zone because that would cause a lot of pain to people. And I am not putting it out of the question that it still pulls back to the 70 zone because that would freak the fuck out of so many people that people would panic sell. But the liquidity perspective on Ethereum says it correcting all the way back down to this 1800 zone is not out of the question, and eventually it correcting back down to this 1500 zone, liquidity is saying that that's something that could happen. Okay. Now, another perspective that we haven't taken for a minute, but I like it, it's the market cipher perspective. The market cipher is telling us that the trend on Ethereum has shifted backwards. It gave a blood diamond sell signal there. That's pretty good. It hasn't on the daily printed a green buy signal yet, but those usually show up a little bit later, so it's not like they show up live. At some point, I expect it to print that buy signal. Momentum has gone really negative, and usually once it goes down to these zones, there's a little bit more left maybe, but it does turn around, and that's when that green dot prints, and that green dot is a good buy signal, which right there, you can see it. When I hover over it, it goes away. Okay, well, like, oops, yep. That's what it looks like. Okay, this green dot is what I'm talking about. This is momentum. This red is money flows. Red and green is money flows. Yellow is VWAP. Almost said that like an Indian. VWAP. Even though it's VWAP. Okay. These dots are a shift in momentum. This is fast momentum. This is slow momentum, and then these are the RSIs and a whole bunch of other things. Okay, so what it's telling me is this is not a bad time to buy. Okay. Now, XRP, I already put out the buy signal on XRP a minute back. I lied. It wasn't a minute back. It was like a couple of days back. But these are jokes, folks. This is language. We say a minute. It's been a minute, innit? XRP, look at that. The moment it touched this fib, I'm like, look, I'm happy to put out the signal. Well, it was a few days back. But the point is, like, at these prices, this kind of consolidation, this kind of depression in the indicator, I'm like, signals say buy, and this thing, when the rocket ship leaves, it fucking leaves. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have the next explosion, we see something like $5, $5.30. At least that's what the indicator is saying. $10 is in the cards. This thing has a tendency to surprise, so I wouldn't be mad if it gives us another 5x. But this thing is saying XRP is a insane buy zone right now. Liquidity says that this doesn't look right. Liquidity says that there is this little bit of liquidity for them to nibble down to this $1.79 range. I wouldn't be surprised if they come back and do that. Do I think it's going to go down to $1.50 range? I think it would be a spike, kind of like this, that goes down if and when that happens. Otherwise, this is not. This is a little bit of liquidity. They like to eat this kind of stuff. So it could go as low as $1.50. More probability. It could go as low as $1.50, but XRP has a lot of infinite liquidity behind it. That's why it's a stable coin in bad times. And I think that's what happens. The Excuse me. The market cipher analysis is showing that, well, see, market cipher printed a green dot right here 20 days ago for XRP. Printed another one at the tippity bottom of the buy zone. So market cipher is basically agreeing with the same thing. Momentum is negative. There was a big wave of negative momentum here. Usually there's a smaller wave and a smaller wave. But again, in the end, it's ambiguous what this thing is telling you. That's also why I don't use it very much. But it is actually a really good indicator. XLM, very similar to XRP. It just has, it's broken below that fib range. But again, anything down here in these ranges is a buy. So for me, XLM is also a good buy. Liquidity-wise, XLM is... Yeah, so XLM has a lot of liquidity down here for it to go, but XLM is probably not going to go that low because, again, it's a sister coin to XRP, and these things don't move like normal coins. Now, actually, let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's also turn on liquidity as an indicator. Okay, so Ethereum is actually, it has a lot of catch-up to do to get to liquidity. XRP does this. XRP is like, nothing. Gotta catch up. Gotta catch them all. Okay? And then boom, explode, top out. And then liquidity drops. And guess what XRP does? Fuck off. That's what XRP says. Okay? And then liquidity runs. It'll probably hang out for a minute. And then it'll play the catch-up game again. XLM, same thing. Nothing. Liquidity goes off on a run. And then boom, in a month, catches up to liquidity, front runs the top of liquidity. As things are going down, it goes down a bit, not as much, but it goes down a bit. And then I expect the same thing, it to continue doing that, and then for it to play catch up. Solana. Okay, this is what Solana does. Oh, geez, that's too many lines. Solana, more like Solina, you know what I mean? Guys, that's funny. I'm funny. Okay. Solana does that, right? It like basically front runs, not even front runs. It actually, yeah, here it front ran liquidity a lot back in the day. Back in like, 2023, it front ran liquidity, topped out with liquidity, bounces around with liquidity, basically follows liquidity up, tricks you back into the market, drops off with liquidity. But now it's diverging. It's diverging. What does that mean, Sim? Panic. It means panic. Freak out. All that means is this is the volatility praying out, right? Praying out. This is the volatility praying out. Things run, sometimes they overshoot. Then things correct, sometimes they overshoot. Then things correct, sometimes they undershoot. Sometimes they follow, sometimes they undershoot, right? I expect Solana to play catch up at some point too, but I wouldn't be surprised because at this point in the tourist shakeout, the goal is to convince you that the game is done, that this liquidity line doesn't work, that these relationships are breaking down, that you were wrong, you should have just bought Bitcoin, you're an idiot, you're a moron, you never make... Just all the shit in your head. So this divergence is, in my mind, this is also why I was saying, I was like, this is not just going to follow. There's going to be a correction because I've been here so many times that now there should be this trick that convinces you, no, everything's broken, but it isn't. Okay? Fibma says that Sol has bounced back to its fibs. Sol has an extremely depressed indicator, hybrid indicator, which means it's a buy. It's in a very good buy zone. It's not in a very good buy zone, but it's in a very good buy zone. Liquidity says Sol to the Wana basically has no liquidity left anywhere for them to eat. Could they go back down here and nibble a little bit more? Sure, but that's not... Yeah, it's not really juicy enough for them to do that. But just in general, I think, yeah, it could go that low. Okay. This one, Market Cipher, Solana... it's showing the same thing. You tell me what it's showing. Trend has shifted, obviously. Momentum has gone negative, obviously. Green dots haven't printed yet. So I'm actually just going to show you this and then go back because it isn't saying much beyond what these are saying, right? That's why I actually like these indicators to make decisions from, and liquidity. But liquidity says we should see another massive leg up. The where is this? This is loggy log. This is loggy log. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Solana, not a bad price to buy. It could go a little bit lower. Who knows? But this right now, data says that it's a good buy. SUI. So SUI had this insane divergence before. Liquidity is liquidity. You know, you can see what liquidity says for all of them. So I'm not going to keep putting liquidity back up there. Liquidity is just saying that it's a very high likelihood that shit just, oh no, I just made that disappear. Okay, there we go. Liquidity just says everything is up and to the right. And so I actually do expect that SUI, what SUI does is it, because it has such a low float, and if you don't know what low float is, Google it. Oh, wait. Low float is saying that there's only very few coins that are available on the market. Therefore, the prices for the coins move very violently when they move. Right? So what SUI did is this. Liquidity dropped, SUI dropped. Liquidity popped, SUI rocketed. Left like it was in a hurry to go see its girlfriend. Front ran it. Liquidity continued up. Everybody was convinced, haha, see, everything works. And now it's like, oh yeah? I drop as quickly as I pop. Now, are we at are the indicators saying that we're at a place to buy? Oh, fuck yeah. Because like any time around here, actually the indicator now is lower than it was at, it's lower now than it was at the bottom of the April 7th thing. Now this is a little scary, okay? So because this is now, if we're saying price from here to here is going up, but the indicator from here to here, the indicator from here to here is going down, you get the idea. That the indicator is a more reliable signal than price. So would I be surprised if SUI goes lower than this range? No, I won't be surprised at all. I think that is likely to play out, especially as we get closer to this slightly bigger correction and war and all this kind of stuff. But Fibma says SUI is at not a bad price. Let me get rid of all these lines so you're not just super duper confused, man. It says that SUI is at not a bad price, but again, it's neither here nor there. It's kind of in the no man's land. While the indicator is saying that yes, it is a good time to buy it because it'll probably correct a bit, or it'll probably pump a bit, decent bit. Liquidity says SUI doesn't have very much liquidity to eat here, but for them to come back here and nibble on that is not out of the question. It could even go lower. Again, depends on what happens. Is it a good buy right now? I'm not really keen on buying SUI right now. Actually, again, it depends on what happens this week. If the narrative continues and we see these kind of blow off processes playing out across the board, then I would be happy to pick up SUI, let it ride up, take a bunch of profits again, and then buy it lower wherever it goes. But right now, SUI isn't as juicy as I'd like it to be. But also, let's be honest. SUI is at $2.50. It was at $5.40 at its all-time high. It's a brand new coin. It has insane stuff behind it, so I wouldn't be mad at you. I wouldn't be mad at myself if I picked up SUI right now. Near, my plan is to pick up SUI actually. SUI, Near, Render, Jupith, SPX, Giga, and WIF. I'm gonna stick to those coins plus Peak. I'm going to stick to those coins because, one, they're at discounted prices. Secondly, I've done my research on them. Thirdly, I avoid shiny object syndrome. So that's the reason why. Because they're the assets that I have an edge in. So, SUI, not a bad price. Liquidity, not bad. What is this? SUI Market Cipher says this. If you want to pause and... So look at this. It printed a green buy dot when SUI was up here, right? So it's not like you can just blindly rely on this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to stop showing you this one because I know you'll blow up your own house with it. Near. Look at Near. Okay? Is Near a good buy at these prices? You tell me, Captain. That's why I bought it. And we rode it all the way up, took some profits. Now it's coming back here. Buy. I would be happy to buy. Indicator says buy. Prices say buy. Could it go lower? Almost certainly. Do I care? No. I buy. It's called a discount, my love. Liquidity says Near has no liquidity left anywhere to eat except to the upside. So, liquidity says buy. And the other liquidity, up and to the right, Near will catch up. All of these will catch up. Render. Discount. Stupid discount. That's a stupid discount. Stupid isn't good. America. I'm a Ringlish is such a hilarious language where stupid means good. She's bad, which means she's good. Oh, that's the shit, which means it's good. It's so stupid. So this is a really, really good discount. Excellent discount. Indicator says excellent discount. Prices say excellent discount. When it runs, this thing will melt faces. Liquidity says there's a little bit of juicy liquidity down there for them to eat. It could go lower, but it's right now. I would be happier to buy than I would be to sell it. Period. Jupe, buy. Pith. Look at this. I bought it here. It went up. Took some profits. It's lower than where I bought it. Guess what I'm gonna do? Buy it. Exactly. Right. Indicator says buy. The FIBMA says, wow, what a ridiculous discount. Now, the FIBMAs tend to be not as accurate on assets that are brand new, but still, just the range that it has built, it's stupid discounted. Atom, this was our Katana Catch entry there back in the day. Atom, the lines are not on here, but we took a bunch of profits on this run up back in the day. Actually, no, we bought it back in August 2024, right here. So it was like August 2024, bought it there, took profits on the way up. Now it's come back down. I'm not going to pick up any more just because I'm focusing on the other coins that I mentioned. Holding a bag, is it a good buy? Oh my God, what a discount. My. Liquidity, let's just go through this. We have lives and kids. You have lives and kids. I have all the time in the world. And Dot, same thing, bought it back here, took profits on the way up. It's lower than where we bought it. Fantastic. If I had some more cash and if I wanted to buy it, I would buy it. Indicator says buy. Fibs say buy. And I say bye-bye. Matic, Polygon. Buy. SPX. First of all, mad respect to SPX. This thing is ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense how it does this while the rest of the market's doing what it's doing. As you already know, bought it at this green line last time, rode it all the way up to here, took profits. Now it's pulling back. Am I going to buy it right now? No, not really keen on that. But I wouldn't be mad at myself if I did buy it, because this thing just has a knack for doing that, where it doesn't give a shit about no fibs, no nothing, bruv. It makes its own thing. This is a chosen one. Just telling you, out of the memes, this is a chosen one because Meme Jesus chose it. And if you don't know who that is, Google Murad, M-U-R-A-D, on YouTube. Meme Coin Talk, and Crypto Jesus has told you that's the chosen one. Now, could it pull all the way back to 42, 25? Could it eventually even go lower than 25? Yes. But right now, I would put it at around the 48 mark, which is where we bought it. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back there. That's what liquidity says. But it's expensive to buy, so I'm not going to buy it. Giga is cheap to buy. Indicator, cheap to buy. Liquidity, there's a little bit of liquidity down to here. I wouldn't be surprised if they go and nibble on that down the road. I think this thing probably pulls up a little bit and then goes back, considering all the things we've spoken about. But Giga I'm not mad at buying Giga right now. Whiff, good buy. This is a good buy. Trump, Jesus, fuck off. Don't buy this thing. It's a shit coin. He's a scammer. He's a shit coin. Peak is at a stupid discount right now. Again, the new fibs, they don't work properly on the new things, but Peak is at a really, really big discount right now. So, and look at this. Peak, we have the price going from here to here. We have the indicator, which is a strength indicator, going from here to here, which means good things. Could it keep going lower? Fuck yeah! Like, you know, don't take my word for it. Okay, these things can keep going lower. Now, I bought it for 12 cents. It's at 6 cents. Do I cry? No, because Peak's market cap right now is at like $50 million, $50 million. And if I'm making a bet, and when I bought it, it was like almost $100 million, right? If I make a bet at $100 million market cap, and my timeline is that I could hold it for 2 years, do I think it's going to go to a $2 billion market cap? Yeah. Do I think it's going to go to a $10 billion market cap? Not out of the question at all. For me to ride something from a $100 million market cap to a $10 billion market cap and get 100x, yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, but I would load up on more if I could. I'm not going to, not right now. Rapid fire, the rest of them. This is my watch list. I know you guys have a bunch of other stuff that you'd like to look at. Ton, great buy. Happy to do that. Thank you. Link is a really, really good project. I like Link. Link, fantastic. It's at a good price. I'd be happy to buy. AVAX, happy to buy. Aave, well, that's not bad. Indicator says happy to buy. Aave, I think is going to do epic, but XDC, neither here nor. But it's a good price, but like, it's kind of pulling an XRP pattern. Hondo, that's not a bad price. It's RWA. Okay, I'm not going to just keep going through this and waste everybody's time. Okay, so inclusion. Oh, wait. I also wanted to do this. Liquidity. We already did this. Liquidity on Bitcoin. My brain, no worky. In closing, what I would like to say is this is what the market looks like right now. This is the average RSI for the market on the weekly. Are things overbought or are things oversold? Oversold. Are all the things oversold? No. The vast majority of the market is weak, but it could get weaker. But when everything's down here, it's a good time to buy. We were just freaked out about the war and all this stuff. When panic hits like that, is it a good time to buy or sell? It's a better time to buy than it is a better time to sell. Hopefully now you're understanding the method behind the madness. This is why these profit-taking strategies are the way that they are, because they're built to benefit from this volatility. They're built to ride up rocket ships like Sui, and then they're built to take profits on those rocket ships so that when the rocket ship loops back around, we get to pick up more of the rocket ship tickets. Render was such a good example because this was like, I picked up Render back here. When was it? 2022, 23, right around here somewhere. And it was at $2. Picked it up for $2. It ran all the way up to $13. Exited 100% of the position at $13, on the way up to $13. It rolled back around to being $2.96. $13 to $2.96. Picked it up again, rode it all the way up to $4.50, sold a bunch, and is pulling it back again and giving you a discount again. So that is how you multiply. That's how I multiply my bag as I'm going through this journey. Now, okay, let's put this thing away. Smoking's bad, kids. Smoking's bad. Okay. Hopefully this has been powerful. Hopefully this has been helpful. Yes, the world is now starting to get chaotic. Yes, we are moving into the proper part of World War III. Yes, we're in the fog of war. It's time to hunker down. It's time to figure your shit out. This is coming to your doorstep. If you're in the States, look around you. Look at the riots. It's at your doorstep. If you're in other places, they didn't import all these immigrants for nothing. Just say it, okay? So get your house in order. If you're going to go somewhere, move now. Okay, Habibi, come to Bali. We have no wars, no nothing here. As far as crypto is concerned, if you are somebody who isn't deployed and is waiting on the sidelines, now is not a bad time to start dollar cost averaging if that is your strategy. If I'm somebody who's dollar cost averaging, I start dollar cost averaging now, and I dollar cost average going forward. I would imagine until August, and spread it out evenly. Me personally, I go all in and I take profits like this. So am I going to go all in? That's going to be determined by this week. If you're somebody who's already deployed and you're like me, where you're 88% or some massive percent deployed and you have some cash on the side, you either start dollar cost averaging now, or I may wait until mid-June to August timeline to make that bigger buy with that small amount of cash on the side. But the vast majority of the portfolio is still deployed, which means when the markets go up, you win more than you lose. If I'm somebody who's fully deployed and I'm just hodling and sitting there, I don't even know what you're doing watching this video for an hour and a half. You should just forget about it. Just leave it. Don't touch it. Just go away, do some fun shit, and then just have a clear profit-taking strategy that allows you to execute. You just sit down, look at the portfolio, and execute it accordingly. Okay, that's the idea. Yes, I will put out a buy signal when I buy it. Will I make a YouTube video? Maybe not. I don't know. If I have time, I will. Otherwise, there's always a link built down below that you can use to join our Telegram community. Only the channel, not the chat. Where I post these things live, so you can always follow along there, or don't. Nobody really cares. All in all, hope you're doing well. Hope you're healthy. Hope you're wealthy. If you're not, stop bitching. Stop moaning. Stop crying. Nobody likes whiny bitches. And there's going to be a video somewhere around here and there, or somewhere, I don't know, right here or something. Just don't click it. It's going to be right here. Just right there. Right there. Don't click it. Just stop. I know you like doing exactly what I tell you to do. Until then, stay legendary, legends.